qualifying. Taking place here for the finale at Sonoma Raceway. I'm Joe Peak with Ryan Marine. I'm sure the drivers are quite happy to be back home because we had to hop over the Midwest for the last round.
Yeah, this is a return to home soil, isn't it, for the USA West Championship? And what a place. Sonoma Raceway opened in 1968. First race ever held here, December 1st of that year. And now, all these decades later, the place has never looked better with the repave over the winter. 12 turns, just over 2.5 miles in length. This place is super technical, a real challenge for the drivers as well as the crews trying to get these cars set up for the racing here. And USA West presents a unique challenge, Joe, because we do have multi-class racing on our hands with both the Cup cars and the Caymans sharing the track simultaneously, and I think that could be a massive story here in qualifying as well as the races.
Yeah, USA West is unique in that sense compared to the North American Series. Now, Blake McDonald has been both consistent and fast all season. Casey Dennis behind him by a little too much to catch up, although mathematically it's possible. It's 105 points between the pair of them. Luke French and James Lee probably going to really be the one to watch out for in the fight for third. That is, of course, the Pro-Am standings. So we have a Masters category over here as well.
We
right?
do as well, and it's a big lead right now for Woods coming into the weekend. 43 points over Laura Eli. That's probably too much to overcome without a lot of misfortune for Woods here today, but the fight for second is really, really good here. Just 9 points between Eli and Walsh in that fight for second and third in points, and there's plenty of points still up for grabs this weekend. That one could go either way, and it should be a lot of fun to keep tabs on that over the course of the next 2 days.
Yeah, I'm sure that is going to be fiercely fought from what I was talking to Walsh a little bit earlier on. Now, in the Cayman Masters, currently it is Michael Galki who is a little too far ahead of Greg Herback for him to be able to catch up mathematically. So that championship is over there. In the Pro-Am, it's been Eli Kogan pretty much all the way, although there aren't too many drivers competing in the Pro-Ams over the season, so that one hasn't been as dramatic to watch, but it is fun to see Eli mix it up with the other Caymans out there. As you can see, we've got a few of our first times on the board. Blake McDonald, our quickest currently in the Pro-Am 992s, while Jim Walsh comes out swinging and takes the fastest time on the first couple laps here in the Masters.
Yep, sir. We're starting to see those times come in here for the first time, and we'll see the times fall, I would suspect, over the next few laps if the previous qualifying sessions are any indication. The way this works, qualifying will set the grid potentially for both races, certainly for race one later on today. That's the fastest lap in this session for these drivers. That sets the grid for the first race. Second fastest lap has the potential to set the grid for race two, unless you have a faster race lap in race two than you have second fastest qualifying lap here in qualifying. We'll deal with all of that tomorrow. Really what matters is the times you're seeing right here in this session, which showing up as the fastest in this session. That's what's going to be certainly used for the grid, looking at race number one of the weekend, and at a track where passing is at a premium. It is maybe as difficult to do here as any track on the schedule. This qualifying session has extra importance, trying to make sure you have a good starting position, because this is not a place like Road America where if you had a miscue in qualifying, you could drive your way back through the field. Much more difficult to do here at Sonoma.
Yeah, talking to the drivers before this morning definitely seemed to be a common thread, all of them knowing this was going to be important before they even get to the race. Kevin Woods has now taken the fastest lap of the Masters, 9.92. Down in our Masters and the Caymans, Paul Bonderson is currently our quickest over Michael Galki, and Galki has honestly been kind of running away with things up there, so seeing him get a bit of a fight will be fun to witness. Now in the Cayman Pro-Am, we actually do have a couple cars here racing this weekend. Usually it's only Eli Kogan out there. But Rafa Martinez, I'm seeing right now, is our quickest in that category.
Yeah, cool to see. And we talked about that during the Cayman North America qualifying session. But Rafa was on the back foot this weekend. That car was rebuilt after they had just a miserable weekend at Road America. But they were just constantly nagged by electronic issues, or at least that's what they thought. It turned out to be a software issue, but it cost them testing, it cost them practice time, and so to make up for that, for Rafa Martinez, who had not been here to Sonoma before, they decided to enter him in USA West, at least to run him in the practice and in the qualifying sessions, but there was some thought that he might run the races too, and depending on how this goes, I think you can make a pretty compelling case that Rafa should take the start here and maybe bring home some hardware. We'd love to see it, just to add a little extra spice to the field, and it's just great to see Rafa back on the track after missing the weekend at Road America after so much misfortune.
Yeah, this is changing my tune a little bit. I thought that he'd want to just kind of hang out at the back of the field to make it a test session for the race itself, not risk the car. But yeah, I mean, if you can come home with another win and another trophy, then might as well give it a go and see what comes of it. Now, we saw a little bit on screen as we're watching Michael Galki currently in the 99 come through that hairpin on the far side of the circuit. James Lee car going to be a little bit different looking. Usually it's kind of the reverse of what we saw of his teammate Casey Dennis. They have the red, white, and black paint schemes on those cars because of a damaged tub, a damaged chassis back at Road America. James had to get a few new body parts and I guess didn't have the ability to get those rewrapped or repainted. So you'll see a few kind of silver parts on his car. And he is going to definitely have to work hard because he actually damaged that car before they got to the racing itself. He scored 2 zeros in Road America, and that's why he's sitting in 4th place. And when I spoke to him, he's very focused on trying to get back to that 3rd spot.
Yeah, that's going to be the goal for him definitely here this weekend. It is within reach. We'll see how that plays out. Watching a lap around the track here with Michael Galki, who is the reigning USA West Pro-Am champion. Let's say he graduated to the Masters class here this year, and he's had a tremendous season, leads the points by a massive margin, racked up the wins, 5 of them in total. In fact, he's only finished off the podium on 2 occasions. Surprisingly, that was on home soil at Laguna Seca, where he had a couple of 4th-place finishes. But back here in California, where he's a native, he's from San Diego. This is a special one for him, and looking to wrap up what could be a back-to-back championship kind of run here for him in style.
It brings it out onto the drag strip. You can see a few cars trying to stay out of the way of others. That definitely makes this qualifying quite a bit different from what we witnessed with both the North America Cup Series and the North America Cayman Series that qualified a little bit earlier this morning. Bit of a more of a pace difference between the Caymans and the 992s and what you get with the 991s and 992s like you have over in the North America Cup Series. So they do have to try and make sure they've got a clean lap and get a good one in without being interrupted by the other class. Cron on board with the 233. Actually looks like he might be coming up on some of those slower class cars.
Yeah, well, let's see what Reinhold can do here. He just is coming off of a trip to Belgium where he took part in a 12-hour endurance race specifically for 992 Porsche GT3 Cup cars, and had a lot of fun, I think, over there. I'm told he did just yeoman's work behind the wheel, ran some really long stints, and enjoyed the whole experience. But from one classic track to another, on board right now, watching him work that traffic, and got a little break there with the car ahead diving into the pit lane. That's going to leave him unobstructed. Whether or not he lost some time on this lap, I'm not sure, but it does look like he's got clear track to work with here on this next tour of this 2.5-mile facility.
Watching to see if that time goes down, and it doesn't look like it. The 233 remains second in the Masters category for the 992s, at least for the time being, and still has about 13 minutes to try and improve on that. Some of that could have been some of the traffic we saw him having to navigate. Even if he wasn't held up being put offline, a lot of drivers have said it can distract you.
Yeah, definitely, and that's something they're going to have to deal with here over the course of the weekend. getting offline here is perilous with this new repave. It's not quite what we saw at Road America, if you remember last year when that new surface was there at Road America, and drivers talked about if you get off the racing line even just an inch or two, you could have catastrophic consequences. But you do see there is some nuance to this repave, a lot of sealant in certain areas that stems from the fact that the new surface was challenged, let's say, back in April when SRO was here and some work had to be done to preserve this new asphalt. But I've heard some conflicting reports about how some of that sealant handles. Some drivers have told me, I really don't notice a whole lot of a difference between the sealant and the rest of the surface at large. Others have said it does have a slightly different complexion, at least with the way their cars are set up, and you have to approach that part of the track differently. So really interesting that I haven't got a consensus on that from the drivers I've talked to in the paddock.
Yeah, some of that makes me wonder if it's a princess and the pea sort of situation. Sure. That some drivers just have that ability to really be able to tell those minute differences. Galki trying to stay out of the way of Bonderson, but unfortunately you just can't make that car disappear, and up through 3 and 3A, that is definitely going to be a lap compromised for Paul.
Yeah, Bonderson's had a couple of starts this year. Ran both of the races at Road America, started on pole, in fact, for one of them. Ran a partial schedule a year ago en route to second in the championship, and has run in this series for a number of seasons, including running with the Flying Lizard team back in 2022, both in North America and in USA West. But good to have him back for another weekend.
I'll have to ask him about this Ducks Unlimited on his car. I don't remember that being there last time around. So definitely an interesting sponsor or whatever it is he's got on the hood there. But definitely was backing off as well. On this lap. You can see coming out of the carousel, pulled off to the side. And we've got a red flag, so something has happened out on track. Trying to see if we can locate what has slowed us down. Unfortunately, this will not pause the time. So this could suck up a significant amount, if not all, of our remaining qualifying. Oh, Reinhold Kron. This may be out on the drag strip, from what I can tell.
Yeah, good eye. I think you're right. And I think that is likely to be the end of this session here for Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West. That is a big debris field. Of course, first things first, let's make sure Reinhold's doing all right. These cars are built to withstand these kinds of impacts, but that is not a small one at all. You can see, in fact, at the bottom right of the screen, one of the barriers actually has been moved. So where the car ended up there, to my eye at least, is not where the impact began.
Yeah, I'm going to take a guess. We don't know for certain, but I would imagine that is a situation where he went wide off of the carousel. Yeah. I've seen a lot of drivers over the years just clip that grass a little too much, lose control, and it spits you back across the track. And yeah, he took a big hit into there. Thankfully, Reinhold is out of the car. We can see him there in the pictures and standing under his own power. So he is at least in healthy enough shape that he's able to get out and talk there with the safety crew. They don't seem to be in any sort of hurry. But if you're moving a concrete barrier, that chassis is probably not in a good shape right now.
Yeah, that is really a shame and a setback for Reinhold as well. Had a bad weekend at Road America too, with a couple of did not starts. So this is a bit more of the same, unfortunately. Had a pretty good start to the year, including a podium at Circuit of the Americas. But the last two races, really, he didn't even get to race. And this is not looking promising. I don't know if the team has another chassis they could go to if push came to shove or not.
Yeah, I'd have to check the entry for the endurance race, which will be on Sunday,
Well,
because we have had situations where drivers have a second chassis for that, but may have to make it do double duty.
he is entered in that, I can tell you that much, along with co-owner, or team owner, I should say, not co-owner, full owner, Charlie Hayes. But whether or not they use the same car for both, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to go and have a conversation, see what the situation is after this session. Just glad that he's able to get out of the car. Hopefully he's not banged around too much inside of there and good enough to get back in it if the car or one of their chassis is able to take part. So that kind of pulls things to a halt here in our last qualifying session of this Saturday. Didn't even get to mention that we've got two other newcomers in this series, Greg Checky and Anna Checky, racing for the first time here in USA West under Charlie Hayes Racing. And actually, if I'm seeing this right, I think Greg Checky may have taken the pole in Cayman Masters.
It looks that way. It's interesting. The two of them are right there together, too. 18th and 19th overall, separated by 0.09 of a second. That's it, between father and daughter. We got to meet them here this weekend. This is their first pro race. They've done some club-level racing in NASA and SCCA. They've done some membership-type racing here at Sonoma Raceway. They know the track really well. They're from Nevada, and really looking forward to this weekend here. But you're right, provisional pole to the debutante, Greg Checky, and Anna not far off of Eli Kogan in terms of position. Does have some lap time to find, about 1.4 seconds, 1.5 seconds to get to the champion-elect Eli, but nevertheless, a really strong debut to be second and third amongst the Caymans. I'd say that reflects really, really positively.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rafa Martinez flipped around after early on. He was our quickest in those Caymans. He'll round out third in that Cayman Pro-Am fight, separated by Galki, and they're going to flag this one as over. Checkered flag is out, just not enough time to restart this session. That means our results are locked in, at least until stewards confirm. So this is all unofficial as always, but this means that Blake McDonald is your pole sitter for the first race in the number 208. Anthony McIntosh for JTR Motorsports brings himself into second, as Casey Dennis now has another rival to try and fight with there. He'll start from third, Patrick Mulcahy in P4. Great qualifying for Sam Parnagian in fifth. James Lee not going to be terribly happy with that sixth spot. A lot of work to do to try and move up if he wants third in this championship. Kevin Woods, your fastest in the Masters, starts seventh. Luke French in P8 and Josh Connolly ninth. And Reinhold Kron, if he can start the race, will be able to begin from 10th position. Bit of a larger field what we've got this time, as you can see the remainder of our drivers, with Eli actually behind Walsh. That'll be an important one for them. And then you get down to Michael Galki down there in second, of course, behind Checky, who takes the pole for our Masters, Kogan in the pole for the Pro-Am. So 25 cars managed to put a time on the board for this one. And that is definitely amongst the biggest fields we have seen in USA West in some time. Should give us a lot of entertainment out on the track. That ends our qualifying for all of our series this morning, at least. We'll have qualifying tomorrow for the endurance races. And now we head off to the race one itself for each of them. Until next time, which should be coming around 12:55 this afternoon Pacific time. I'm Joe Peak, along with Ryan Marine. Race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.